Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela Braniff. I have a very exciting video for y'all today. I have been looking forward to making this video and sharing this with you guys, and I'm really looking forward to this because this is something that I have wanted to do and something that I feel like I needed and wished was around when I was first starting. So let me just go ahead and get into it. So today's video, first I'm going to share with you guys the exciting news and what's going on, and then we are going to go into a Q&A type session with two of my favorite mamas here on YouTube that are joining me. And basically what we are doing is we have created a online community group for homeschool mamas, for those who are new to homeschooling. Really, the group is for anyone who's homeschooling. I mean, obviously this group, you don't have to be a new homeschooler to join, but we really started it with new and sort of green homeschool moms in mind. And the group is going to be all about simple homeschooling, simple living. We are going to share some meal planning and simple homes type thing. So it's myself and my friend Dawn here on YouTube is the Minimal Mom. And then also my friend Lisa, she has Farmhouse on Boone. She has a blog and YouTube channel. I'm gonna leave all of their information linked down below. I'm also going to leave the page link down below where you guys can go and find out all the details about this group. I'll share a little bit here, but I want you guys to go there and check out all of the details, all the information is there, the nitty gritty, if you will. But in this group, we're gonna be talking homeschool basics, curriculum, routines, time management, setting up your space, and of course also skills and tips and tricks for simplifying homemaking if you are trying to take care of your home as well as homeschooling kids. I know that there's a lot of new homeschoolers this year. A lot of people some people are being dragged in, right? Like they're not here because they wanna be, but they're homeschooling because that is the choice they have. And others have just decided now's the time to take the leap. And so we really just wanted to have a place where we could show up and support y'all, those of you who are new, and create a community. I don't know about you guys, but community is the thing that I crave. Being in a group with people who understand what you're going through and who can be supportive and who you can get advice from, tips and information, and you can share about things you've learned along the way. I really find this type of group to be so incredibly valuable. So like I said, I will put all the information down below, but just quickly, I'm gonna go over some of the things that you guys can expect from this community group. We're gonna be doing daily videos in the group on all of the topics I already mentioned: homeschooling basics, curriculum, simple homemaking, all of that kind of stuff. Daily videos in that group. There will also be twice monthly lives, and we are also going to have experts come in and join us for some of those lives as well. So it won't just be us all the time. We will also have various experts to come in and join us and talk about different things, burning questions y'all have, and specific topics that we get into as we go along. There will also be monthly goals and projects. I think this is really fun. It's a great way to stay accountable, where you can join in on those goals and projects that we're all doing together, and everybody's just in there kind of cheering each other on. Of course, we'll be sharing lots of resources and resources that we trust and that we've used personally and would recommend. All of the content will be able to be organized into units, so it's really helpful and easy to find when you join. And of course, it's just an amazing community of like friendly and kind people who are all working towards the same goals. I just value that so much, especially in these times. And this community here, the community of this gathered nest, and whenever we do things, y'all just show up, and I am so honored for the amazing people that have joined and been a part of these different online spaces that I've created over the years. And I'm so excited to see some of your faces in the community group and get to know y'all better, and you get to know me better, and we get to talk about something I love talking about, which is homeschooling and homemaking and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be really amazing. To tell you that I am just like giddy and excited and looking forward to this would be just a gross understatement. I'm thrilled, and I feel like the doors have just opened to make this happen, and I'm really, really excited that it is finally happening. So like I said, I will put the link down below where you guys can go sign up. You can find out more. Enrollment is only going to be open for this week. We are going to limit enrollment. Moving forward, it will open probably once a quarter, because we do really want an opportunity to get people into the group and people to get to know each other and really sort of form those bonds before we bring in a new crop of people. So if you are wanting to join this group, now is the time. The enrollment will be open for this week. So all that information will be in the link down below in the description box if you guys want to check that out. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay, we're gonna get into the Q&A. I asked on Instagram if you were new to homeschooling, if you were a new homeschool mom, what kind of questions did you have? And Dawn and Lisa did the same. And so we compiled all those questions, and we're gonna hop into the Q&A where the three of us kind of bat those around and talk about some different things, from socialization to time management to the ability to teach your kids, lots of questions that people had. So hopefully y'all will find the Q&A helpful, and I got so many questions that I probably am going to do another Q&A to talk about even more of them. That will probably be up next week. And I hope that I will see some of your beautiful faces in our new community group, Simple Homes and Homeschools. I think it's going to be wonderful and amazing, and I'm just so thrilled. So let's go ahead and get into the Q&A.
Hello, I'm Angela Braniff. I have a YouTube channel called This Gathered Nest and a personal channel also called Angela Braniff. I'm a mom of 8 kids, and I am currently homeschooling 5 of them, going into my 9th year of homeschooling. And my oldest is 13, my youngest is 10 months. So the ages that I'm currently homeschooling is obviously my 13-year-old, my 11-year-old. I have 2 8-year-olds and a 6-year-old. So it's a spread. We've got middle school and elementary school. I have kind of an eclectic homeschool style. I kind of pull a little bit from lots of different techniques and stuff. And yeah, I've enjoyed homeschooling for many, many years, and I love sharing the stuff I've learned along the way, because I feel like I really stressed myself out in the beginning, and I'm very thankful to be more in a team that works for us now.
Hey, I'm Lisa Bass. I am a blogger on homeschooling.com, and then I also have a YouTube channel here, Farmhouse on Boone, so just one channel. We have 6 kids, 11, 9, 7, almost 5, 2, and a 9-month-old. So we are technically homeschooling 3 kids at this point. We've homeschooled from the beginning. And yeah, like Angela, there's a lot of things that we've learned over the years, a lot of things that I feel like I don't stress about like I used to. And so, yeah, excited to dive in.
And I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. We have 4 kids ages 5 through 10. So we are jumping in this year to homeschooling all of them, kindergarten through 5th grade. They previously went to public school. So I'm a little bit nervous about this upcoming year, but I do believe if I surround myself with the right people, that it's going to go smoothly. And I'm excited to learn from you guys about how to keep it simple. My whole thing this year is keeping it simple so that we can enjoy it and not get too stressed out. All right, let's jump into the questions then. I think one of the most popular questions is, am I qualified? Can I do it?
I feel like, just from my perspective, I felt very much the same way, because I was a child that struggled in school, especially in the early elementary school years. I struggled with some dyslexia, and learning was not fun or easy for me. And my mom ended up pulling me out and homeschooling me, like I believe it was about the 1st or 2nd grade when she pulled me out, and I went back and forth. So when it came time to make the decision about what to do with my own kids, I was really concerned that I didn't have what it takes. And I remember a mom that I know that it was older than me and had many more children than I did. And she said to me, Angela, you've taught your children how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to use the potty. You're their first teacher. Everything they know, they've learned from you. And she really helped me to recognize that we are our children's best teachers. We know them better than anybody else. We know what motivates them. We know what holds them back. And so there's lots of things that, of course, there's room to be anxious about. I don't remember how to do algebra, so how am I going to help my kid with that? But all of that stuff gets figured out along the way. I just think that getting past over that hump into recognizing that you actually are a teacher to your children every single day, and that if you can step back from the idea of recreating school at home and step fully into this idea of homeschooling, which looks very different most of the time, trying to recreate a classroom environment in your home. If you can separate from that, then you can also separate from the idea that you need to be a teacher standing at the front of the classroom, pointing to the whiteboard and having the kids, take notes. It doesn't have to look like that, but you've been their teacher from the day that they were born, and you absolutely have what it takes to do this.
That's very encouraging. I feel like very inspired right now.
I have much to add to that.
I was actually looking at the requirements in Minnesota where we live, and it actually says in it, if you are a parent, you are qualified. And I was just like, it kind of just put my mind at ease. And I know it was talking about like other qualifications or whatever, but but I was just like, okay, like if you are a parent, you are qualified. So I think that's really encouraging. I know for us, we've lived as minimalists now for like 6 years. And so you get a fair amount of pushback or criticism. I have received more criticism in this past year when we started talking about homeschooling our kids than I ever have with any of the other ways we've choose to live. So I do know that there can be criticism. A lot of times we have fears if we're going from public school to homeschooling of what other people are going to think. So Lisa, have you had any criticism, or do you have any encouragement for moms that are kind of worried about what other people are going to think?
Yeah, there was a lot of questions like that. Thankfully for us, our families have always been really supportive. I wouldn't say that they didn't homeschool, but they've never said anything negative to us. And it's been so long since we've made that decision that I don't remember getting much criticism on it, because we were talking about it from when our children were born. On the internet, yeah, you get your fair share of people who say that you're sheltering them. Obviously, socialization, we got that question over and over and over again. So that's a concern of people's. And for the most part, I haven't gotten a whole lot of pushback. I think it's a lot more common now. I've talked to women who homeschooled 20 years ago, and that's when you really had to deal with it. Now it's becoming the norm.
Yeah, and I think it's probably never been easier. I know, like Tom just told one of our neighbors that we're switching, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well with everything going on, it just makes sense, right?" And so I was like,
"Right, yeah,
it's a little bit easier right now."
Yeah, it's not a weird year at all to announce it.
Yeah. And Angela, let's just talk about socialization, the elephant in the room. What would you say to parents that maybe they have social kids? Like we have one that is very social, and I worry that she's going to miss seeing her friends at school.
Yeah, I always like to jokingly respond to people and say, you socialize dogs, you educate children in terms of what are they doing in this school building. And how many of us remember being yelled at by a teacher if you were a chatty Cathy in school, being told, you're not here to socialize, you're here to learn. And then everybody's like, well, what about socialization? I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't add up. But the truth is that I think that when people ask that question, they mean something different than the Webster's definition of socialization. They're talking about that. They're talking about kids who really thrive, who are more, they're more extroverts, and they feed off of the energy of others, and they need others. This is a strange time to answer that question, because if it were any other time other than the year 2020 of our Lord and Savior, which has been the strangest year ever, then I would tell you that there's a million ways to get your kids involved in activities and homeschool groups. And it doesn't even have to be homeschool groups. There's so many places that you can plug your kids into to get that element of socialization that they really crave and need. But in this current climate of things, it is going to be more challenging for parents this coming school year to, like, we have fun Fridays, and every Friday we go on a field trip, we do something. And so that's often when we would schedule group activities and stuff like that. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. So I think we're all going to have to do, specifically in this school year, until things really open back up, we are all have to get creative about how we socialize our children. Because right now, socialization is like a 4-letter word. You're not supposed to socialize with anybody. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit different, I think, this year for our homeschoolers. But to me, it's, it's something that you have to be intentional about, and you have to recognize which of your kids really need that, who doesn't. Just like if you were to walk into any public school, you're going to have kids in there who are introverts. They're in the corner and happy to be away from everybody. And that's just they are. And it's the same thing in homeschool. You're going to have some kids who are social butterflies and want to go and do all the things, and you're going to have others who don't. They're happier being home, curled up on the couch reading a book, or playing in the backyard with their puppy dog, or whatever the case may be. But I think that recognizing that our kids are all different and their needs are different, and being really intentional and getting creative as to how we get the kids out into the world who really need and want to be out in the world doing stuff with others.
Yeah, that's good. And you bring up a good point, Angela. How many days a week does your family homeschool, and about roughly how many hours per day? And then I'll ask Lisa the same thing.
Yeah, we do year-round homeschooling. So we take multiple week breaks throughout the year, but we take like a huge summer break. We don't take 3 months off at a time. So the way that we kind of work that is that we school 4 days a week. So we have the 5th day, which is Friday usually, that's our fun Friday field trip days, other things like that. And then in terms of hours, it depends on the child and their age level, their interest level. I don't want to get like too in the weeds, since we do have a big family with a larger spread. It does look different, but we are usually trying to get done with all core subjects by lunchtime. So if we're starting at 8, 9, somewhere around there, then we're trying to be done by about noon with most major subjects. And then in the afternoon is when we'll save, if we've got a documentary we want to watch or a science experiment we want to do or something like that, we'll save that for the afternoon. So that's something, especially if it's something we want to do with the older kids while the littler ones are napping, that sort of thing. So I don't, and we have a very like our life, we're living our life. Our life is education and learning, and we see a lot of things as living that aren't just sitting down in front of a workbook. So I don't want people to think that we're like doing school all day long, because we're definitely not. If we're baking bread, homemade bread in the kitchen in the afternoon, we're doing measurement, and that, my friends, is math. So it's like, you have to think outside the box a little bit and recognize the things that you're teaching your kids that you're doing unintentionally. It doesn't, like I said, have to be a worksheet all the time.
Yeah, actually, ours looks really similar to yours, Angela. We do year round, like you said, like just this morning on the front porch for most morning. And then we also just do before lunchtime and 4 days a week too. So we were talking about socialization earlier, and that is also what we try to do. We try on Fridays, which we do most of the time, to either do a field trip, get together with friends, other homeschoolers, do something fun, whether it be educational or just to actually socialize. But I was going to talk back about whenever you were talking about socialization. I think one of the biggest concerns people have is not just that kids get their needs for friends met. That's one thing. But I think they're also really worried that they're going to be like the stereotypical awkward homeschooler type of kid. And I can tell you that I have introverts and I have extroverts for kids. I have one she's very social, but she's the one that wants to have time alone in her room for 3 hours a day to work on her projects. And all of them, when we go to a park, we see other kids right away, joining with them, starting some kind of game. There's something instantly headed up, like a hide and seek or something. And I find that they can talk to people of all ages. They have no trouble. They're not awkward. And so if that's a concern, people really mean when they ask that question.
Yeah.
But yeah, same with us. We try to get the core ones out of the way in the morning. And then in the afternoons, like I was mentioning, my daughter yesterday, she sewed a dress, and it was like all pieced together, different fabrics, but it's wearable and she's wearing it. And she's, she has access to her sewing machine. And we count that. I mean, you can't count that into your core hours, of course, but that all to me is a valuable thing to learn.
That's awesome. And so let's talk logistics. How do you set up a homeschooling space if you don't actually have space for a homeschooling space?
Well, for us personally, we don't have a homeschooling space dedicated because our house is a 4-bedroom house and we have 6 kids. So, already we're sharing rooms. And it really depends on the seasons too. Like right now, we have a covered old farmhouse front porch, and all of our school supplies are just on the front porch at times. Like they don't even come in the house, and every morning they go there. Even if it's raining, at least it's warm. So 5 months out of the year, that would be where we'll homeschool. And then there's times where it'll be upstairs in one of the kids' bedrooms whenever it's cold, or it might depend on too what's going on with the blog. So if I need to be making some certain video, Luke might take the kids upstairs into one of the bedrooms and do homeschool there. So it's very portable. You only really need a few things. And so you can, if you don't have dedicated space, which would be nice, it's totally possible. What do you ladies do or planning to do?
We kind of had this awkward space in our house now that we've turned into a schooling space, knowing that we were going to do it this fall. So we kind of just used some unused space, even though our house is small. It's only 1,500 square feet, but we were able to kind of find a little space to dedicate to it. So from what I'm hearing from others, it doesn't have to take up a lot of room. And if it has to be done at the dining room table, then that's great too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I'm a bad example of do as I say, not as I do, because we do have a homeschooling room, and it's large because it's a finished-in garage that for years has been a playroom. Well, first it was a photography studio when I had a photography business. Then it was a playroom, and now it is like a play/school room. But we are getting ready to move, and in our new house, it's an older home built in the early 1900s. It does not have, we're shrinking bedrooms and all that, much like Lisa, probably a similar layout. So we won't have a fully dedicated homeschool room. So I won't have my big chalk wall and all that kind of stuff anymore. But I'm kind of looking forward to the challenge of changing it up and doing something different, because I do find that even though I have this dedicated space with this table, that oftentimes my kids end up curled up on the sofa with their books, or at the kitchen table closer to the kitchen where the action is happening in the house. And they kind of just spread out. And, we have a little, our dining room now is where we have my grandmother's piano and books and a mini library. So they'll go curl up in the chair in there or somewhere else if they're doing their independent work. So, I think that the idea that you need a classroom, you definitely don't. I think most homeschool moms will tell you that they could absolutely homeschool from the car, from wherever. I mean, we homeschooled when we were living in our camper, which was, 250 square feet and 9 people. So you can make it happen. It's just a matter of having space in your lap for your books. And we even have gotten those wooden dinner, the 1950s dad would sit down with
TV
his dinner
trays?
tray and his microwave. Yeah, the TV trays. I've gotten some of those from Amazon that are wooden, and we'll pull those around sometimes if kids just sit on the sofa and use one of those. So we just get creative with it, but you definitely don't have to have a Pinterest-worthy homeschool space.
That's awesome.
No, my kids were out in the barn this morning. I came out there and I was going to hold one of the goats, and I was like, so yeah, that's where some reading happened today.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And so let's talk to our friends who are working moms. I mean, the 3 of us we work and homeschool too, or I will be homeschooling too. And so I think that's probably one of the things I get passionate about too, and I'm excited to share in our group is the tips and the tactics for time management. And so do you guys feel like it's hard to balance, or do you feel like you've kind of gotten it streamlined so that you can do well in both worlds?
I mean, for us, that is something we have to reevaluate really often because things just change so much. So we had a baby less than a year ago. When he was first born, I always had him on me, but then now he's transitioning out to naps. So many factors, like whether it's nice outside, what's going on with the business, what age the baby is. So now school, things like revolve around the baby's nap, whereas before it was a whole thing. So we find that we're on date nights, we probably every 3 months or so will be like, okay, when do we need school time to be? When do we need work time to be? And reevaluate that, because it is hard to balance if you don't constantly revisit it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally agree. I think especially if you're working, if you have a more traditional work schedule, you're working for a boss and you're showing up and you're sitting at your desk at home, that's one thing. But if you're working for yourself, then you obviously have some leeway in that. And so I do a lot of, and I've had to get creative depending on the fullness of what's going on work-wise for me and then what's going on school-wise. I will say that to be truthful, there's always feeling of I could be doing more in either category of, I think, but that's very common for women. We always feel like we want to be giving 110%. And even when we are, we still sometimes feel like it's not enough. But I've had to make sacrifices in order to have things the way that I want them. And for me, my family, my kids' homeschooling has always come first, which means I have to make sure that the job stuff can fit in outside of that. Wouldn't be a challenge. It does mean that sometimes I wake up really early and come out to my office and work before everybody wakes up, and then I come back in as people are starting to wake up and it's breakfast time, and then work later in the afternoon. That's usually my goal, is to do homeschool and everything in the morning, like I said, wrap up around lunch, and then try to get all my work done in the afternoon. And then if I have to, just depending on the load of things, I might have to work into the evening or something like that as well, or come back out later that night or early the next morning. It just depends on what I've got going on workload wise. But yeah, I have to get creative with it. But I like that. I like the flexibility, and I get very bored if I have to do the same thing every day. Some people thrive in that, and I do not. I start to go crazy, and I'm like, that's it. We do something totally different. I'm quitting my job. I'm doing, and I start to go off the deep end. So I need to have the flexibility to say, like, okay, this week I'm just going to pour into a bunch of the school stuff I've wanted to focus on, and I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to kind of keep status quo with work stuff. And then other times it's like, I usually break it up by quarters, and like once a quarter I take one of the weeks that we're taking off from school, and I like blitz work stuff and do a whole bunch of work 1 week during each quarter to try to sort of get myself ahead of the game for the coming few months. So you have to get creative.
That's good. So let's talk real quick. I think one other thing that might deter moms who are thinking about homeschooling is, what if my kids don't listen to me? Do they listen to teachers better?
So even if I'm not trying to teach them something, there's times where my kids don't listen to me. So here's what I would say. I think if your kid's already been in school and you think that they are going to struggle with the transition, I can't speak to that because I have homeschooled from day one. So, well, actually, that's not entirely true. Hold on just a second. I did send 2 of my kids to public school for 1 year after my twins were born, and I felt like I was up to here with stress. And it turned out to only prove that that wasn't the right thing for us, which was good, I guess, in that regard. But I don't know. I've just found that it takes a little getting used to for everybody. And if you're trying to play a role, if you're trying to go back to like 2nd grade where you were playing with your friends and somebody was the teacher and somebody was the student and you were doing it in this very like sort of traditional roles, yeah, that's probably going to be a little bit strange for your kids because they're like, oh, which hat do you have on right now? Are you putting on teacher hat? Or are you mom hat? Like, what's happening? Especially if it means that the rules change, the rules of engagement, how we interact with each other changes, whether we're doing school or hanging out at home, whatever. So I think I would encourage you to blur the lines and not think that you need to like put on a hat of each different character you are. Like, just again, like sort of lean into this idea that you're their parent, you've always taught them, and it just looks a little bit different, and learning together how you best interact, and learning how your kids learn best. Like, this is all just, it's unlike boots on the ground. Like, you've just got to get in there and do it. But I think that, kind of taking a step back and easing in, not feeling like you have to show up with your glasses and your chalk to just like, here we go, kids, teacher, mom is here. I think that can be intimidating and weird for kids too, just like it feels weird for you. So I don't know, I would just encourage you to try to be more natural with how you approach it.
And
when
I imagine
you were talking about, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I imagine this is something that's gonna come up fairly regularly in the Facebook group too, and I think it's gonna be a safe place to have those conversations. So I'm glad for that, because we'll probably, I'll need reminders. So, but go ahead, Lisa, say what you were gonna say.
Oh, I was just going to say, in the beginning, Angela, you were talking about how you need to reframe what you're thinking. Like, this is not necessarily school as it was at school, at home. It's more of a lifestyle, because, if you're going to get up in front of your staggered children, 11 down to baby, and tell them all to sit still while I point to A, B, and C, it's just, if that's the expectation, it's not going to happen. I had somebody on my question box on Instagram ask me, how do I get my 6-year-old boy to read? And she was like, she put some kind of emoji or something, like she was really frustrated. And my answer to that is, don't. Like, you can have him listen, but he's a little boy, and he will learn to read. He will. It's just, I think we have these expectations about every single child at every single level, and they all have to be the exact same. And we get these things in our head, and then we get really stressed out when there's one kid who's just a little bit different. But that's the beauty of homeschool, is you're not trying to talk to, 25 peers. You're addressing your child where they are, and you know them best.
Oh, there's so many more questions. We're going to do one more question, and then probably, I'm guessing, in our Instagram stories and stuff throughout the upcoming week, Facebook, other places, we can be answering some of these questions too, if that's okay with you guys. But last question, what if I want to homeschool, but my husband isn't on board? I'm the one who will be doing most of the work with the homeschooling.
Well,
that's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one, because I don't know your relation. I don't know your dynamic with your spouse, and I certainly don't want to get anybody into any kind of arguments or trouble. But here's what I will say. In my experience, been married for almost 15 years, and I've had to play this song and dance when it comes to, we've adopted 5 of our children, and approaching my husband about adoption and things like that. That's a really big deal, right? Here's what I found. A couple of things. One, men tend to have very protective instincts, protective and security instincts. So they, and again, these are generalizations, but just hear me out. So I think that they are often looking at it, they're looking at your mental health, believe it or not, in many cases, they're thinking, you already seem really stressed out, and now you're asking to do this thing, which it stresses me out to even think about, and now you want me, and now you're going to be even more stressed out, which means you're going to be mean to me, and that doesn't sound like any fun. I think that they're thinking about that. They're thinking about the perception, what other people, oh great, I'm the dad of the weird school kids, here we go. And they're envisioning this and I have nothing against this, by the way, let me be clear, but they're envisioning this Jean Jumper, Michelle Duggar-esque family is what they think that they are becoming. Again, nothing wrong with any of that. I'm just trying to give a little insight as to what I think that sometimes some of the fears are. And so I have found that if I can come with information, I can come armed with information, other people to show them, look, this family homeschools, look at this, look at what they do, look at how they're doing this, and give them some living examples of people that you think have a similar lifestyle to you, would feel relatable to your husband, to let them see that this is working for this family. Pull statistics, that'll help you right away. Pull some real statistics and information about the outcomes for homeschoolers, because it's pretty incredible. And if you're a believer, I would encourage you to pray for your husband. That's the biggest thing that I've always done when my husband and I don't see eye to eye, is pray that the Lord would grab hold of his heart and whatever this thing is, and help to see it the way that I do, or to change mine, because maybe it's not right. But I feel like coming with much information as you can to try to sort of head off at the pass a lot of those concerns, and sit down and have frank conversations about what are your concerns and how can I mitigate them? How can we address together, so we ensure that we're both on the same page in terms of how this is going to flow and operate, depending on your reasons and stuff like that for wanting to do it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Did you have anything to add, Lisa?
No, you said that really well. I don't think there's anything.
Awesome. Well, I think we're all really excited for this group. I've been able to lead a private Facebook group for the last 8 or 9 months, and I cannot believe how helpful, and I get emails on a regular basis saying that this group has changed my life. And I don't think that's an overstatement. I think when we surround ourselves with the right people, that we can do anything. And I think if you're a little bit unsure about yourself, we would love to come around you and cheer you on and give you the tools that you need. And so not only that you're successful in homeschooling this year, but so that you're just running a really successful household. And so I think that would feel good to all of us to get through this school year and just feel like we learned a lot of stuff. Not everything went perfect, but I felt supported and encouraged along the way. And I'm excited about what the next years look like too.
Yeah, I just want to add to that too, that I think the community aspect of this group is what I look forward to the most, because when I get on Facebook and I scroll, and you might be feeling this way if you've made the decision to homeschool this year, and you're seeing people like just downers. They're just being real downers about homeschooling, and maybe you're nervous, but you're feeling a little excited too. Like, kind of, I'm looking forward to doing this or trying this, or maybe you're going into it still just scared stiff. Having an encouraging community, a place to go that's not just like doom and gloom all the time and complaining, which social media can turn into real fast. To me, that's worth its weight in gold, being able to talk to other women who are in the trenches with me, doing the hard things and getting through it and giving ideas. And I'm forever blown away by what a group of like-minded women on some kind of similar topic or thread can come up with to help and encourage each other. I'm like, we could change the world if y'all would just give us 10 minutes and we can fix all the problems.
I love it.
Yeah, and even seasoned homeschool moms too, even if you're not brand new, being able to get a perspective and also just stay, accountable and new ideas. I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this Q&A. Like I said, cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am. I've just been like on cloud 9 as we have been planning and preparing and working up the content and the calendars and schedules for this group. This is something that I have wanted to do forever, but never really felt like I could give enough on my own. And I'm just so thrilled to have Dawn and Lisa and us doing this together. It's going to be amazing. I definitely, like I said, wish I would have had something like this when I first started homeschooling, but that's okay. We're here now and we're going to do this together and it's going to be amazing. So, like I said, enrollment closes at the end of the week, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in joining the group. And that's it for today's video, y'all. I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.